guys, welcome to the September wrap-up. I have some very exciting news for this month. I have become an affiliate with bookshop.org. If you don't know what that is, it is a online book retailer that has been doing some really great work in funneling their proceeds back into independent booksellers, which is especially great this year, what with all the havoc COVID has had on bookstores everywhere. So that's really great, and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So how it works is down in the description there's going to be a link to my page on the website, and I will have a list on there of all the books I talk about in this wrap-up. If there's any that catch your eye and you think sound interesting, you want to check out, if you follow that link, it'll have a list of all the books, and if you end up purchasing one through my link page, then it's no extra cost to you. It's the same price either way, but I will just get a small commission for the recommendation. So that would be really great all around. Yeah, so let's get started. I read 7 books in the month of September. I have 3 3-star reads and 4 5-star reads. So decent month, not too bad. First, I have, in the 3-star column, I have Felix Ever After. This book is about a trans boy, and he's kind of just working his way through high school and figuring stuff out about himself and his friends and his family, and yeah. This is on me. I really need to just accept that YA contemporary is not my thing. I wish it was, because there's so many great books out, especially right now, that get such great hype and well-deserved hype, and I just have to accept that it's not my thing. Yeah. A lot of this book dealt with Felix's transition and how he was dealing with all of that, and also trying to figure out his place in the school and dealing with trying to find new friends, and a lot of just your basic teenage emotional drama, which I'm sadly just too old to have patience for. I hate saying that, but it's true. I felt like a lot of the relationships were very shallow. A lot of his friendships didn't seem to have any depth to them at all. He always kept being surprised by I felt very fundamental aspects of his friends' lives, like he didn't really know them that well. One thing that I did really like, though, is the relationship that he had with his father. I thought was really good. In the book, his mother is not in the picture. She basically ran away and has not communicated with her son in years, and I thought that was a very interesting dynamic of the parental roles kind of being, we don't see that a lot with an absent mother and a present father. So I thought that was really well done, and I appreciated the more solid relationship that he had with his father throughout the book. I thought that was well done. Next 3-star read, we have These Witches Don't Burn by Isabel Sterling. This book was very fast-paced. This is a very fast-paced book. It is about a young witch in Salem. It's modern times, but she still is part of a coven, and she's learning some magic spells, but there's a lot of restrictions put on her because of her age. And as we're going through the book, a lot of stuff starts happening. There's a lot of very serious attacks on her and her family and her coven, and the mystery is trying to find out who is causing these attacks, where it's coming from, and who the real enemies are. As I said, it was very fast-paced, a little too much. I felt like it could have slowed down a bit. There was a little too much happening in this book, where it felt like every other chapter was another catastrophe. There was also some really inconvenient, or I guess maybe better, too convenient plot erasers almost. One of the big issues that Hannah has is, so Hannah is one particular type of witch, and there's 3 different kinds, and one of them is the blood witches, who use blood in a lot of their spells, and that is how they get their magic. And there's these intense stereotypes that Hannah grew up with of blood witches are evil and they're just the absolute worst, and she was raised on all these like scary bedtime stories about blood witches. So she has this very deep ingrained distrust of blood witches, and then later on in the book, when she finds out that someone she knew is a blood witch, it was like all of the issues that she had were instantly gone. And she's like, oh, my bad. It was wrong of me to have all these awful stereotypes about you. I don't know how that happened. And like, it's just gone instantly. I also didn't care for the parenting style. This makes me sound so old. But it really, really bothers me when, you know, you have a story, it's very common in YA and middle grade, where the parents are just absent. Like, it's one thing if it's an orphan situation, like that, I get it. But Hannah has a mom and a dad, and they are just completely not following what I would think to be basic parenting anything. It got to the point where it was almost ridiculous, where Hannah goes through these like I said, there's multiple attacks happening, like very serious attacks, to the point where she ends up in the hospital. She has to go give police statements about these attacks, and her parents are still just like, yeah, go hang out with your friends, yeah, go for a walk in the woods, just, you know, do whatever you want. Like, there's no additional parental oversight despite all these crazy bad things that are happening. And I just thought that was unrealistic, I guess you would say. One thing that I did really, really like about this book, though, it deals a lot with the relationship that Hannah has with her ex, Veronica, and I thought that was very well done. I think too often in books, the focus is just on the new relationship, the new crush, the new love interest, and the blossoming, if you will, of that. And you almost never see the post-relationships effects of what happens to the relationship when it dies, especially if it's a relationship which, in this case, Hannah and Veronica were friends since they were very young children, and they're in the same coven together, and so they still have to be a part of each other's lives post-breakup. And I just thought that was really well done and very realistic, I think, of the emotions and internal processing that everyone has to go through after a breakup, especially, again, if it's someone who you still have to have in your life. You can't just completely cut them out. So I thought that was very, very well done. And then my next 3-star read was The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Zapatas. This book is about 1950s Spain, and so it's dealing a lot with the dictatorship you would have that was seen with General Francisco Franco. We're also dealing with Spain is just starting to open up its borders to America, so we have an American family that's coming over to try and do some oil business with Spain, and they end up staying at this fancy hotel that's really just for tourists, and the family's son Daniel ends up becoming involved with one of the maids at the hotel, Anna, and it's kind of a story of, one, this portrayal of 1950 Spain and all the terrible things that were happening at that time, and then also Daniel kind of seeing it from an American perspective and having to adjust his viewpoint, not only as a very privileged, rich oil tycoon son, but also just as an American in general, and having to, I guess, question the ideals and why America thinks it was okay to do business with Spain at that particular time, with everything that was happening. And so it dealt a lot with the politics of that as well. Conversely, I know I just complained about These Witches Don't Burn being too fast. This book was too slow. I felt like it really dragged itself, and I don't know why, because there was a lot happening. We had bullfighting, we had the Catholic Church doing some very sketchy things, so it could have been a very intense book, but it came across as very slow-paced for me, which is fine. Like, I'm not terribly upset with that. I generally prefer my books to be more slow-paced and more of like a slow burn effect like that. But what bothered me is, so towards the middle of the book, where it started to pick up pace and things were starting to get very intense and very interesting, and we were coming right to the cusp of the plot, and then suddenly there was just a 20-year time jump, just out of nowhere. It was very jarring, I felt, as a reader. I did not care for that. And I think that really took away a lot from all the plot points that were building up for them to just suddenly be that jump, and then all the resolution is kind of seen as a past tense of this is what the fallout was of all of this, again, 2 decades ago. Yeah, so I did not care for that. I did really like the history and the culture of how Spain was presented. I thought that was absolutely fascinating. Previously, I was completely ignorant to the situation of Spain during this time frame, so I thought that was absolutely great. Absolutely great. And now we get to move on to our 5-star reads. Yay! So, first up, we have Check Please, Book 2, Sticks and Scones. This is a graphic novel that I absolutely loved. I loved the first one. This one's just as great. It is full color illustration, which is awesome. And basic plot premise is we have the blonde boy, Biddy. He is a student at Samuel University, and he plays on the hockey team, and he's also really into baking, and he has this vlog where he talks about all the drama that's happening in the hockey team, and it's just really fun and humorous and beautiful. I loved it. It deals a lot with, so Biddy is, like I said, Biddy is the college student, and he ends up dating Jack, who is a professional hockey player. And so there's a lot about their relationship in whether or not they are going to come out and the fallout of being gay in an athletic environment. But it also dealt a lot with, like I said, Biddy is still in college, and he's in this fraternity house that is exclusively for the hockey team, and there's some great relationships there. It's a very colorful, great cast of characters, just great cast of characters. Yeah, I thought all the characters were really great. And I love the art style. It's so, you can't even really tell. I'll zoom in a little bit, but yeah, it's just beautiful. And I love the baking side note. Like, the baking really is very much just like a side plot, but I liked it. It was great. Next, we had Obsidio, which is the conclusion to the Illuminate trilogy, which you guys know I love. I loved this series so much. It was just a great, amazing ride. I really don't know how to talk about it without giving a lot away. It was great. I loved, it really opened up a door for me as far as like showing me that I can really absolutely love books that are not fantasy, and even going so far as to love sci-fi, which prior to this I would have told you was one of my least favorite genres. Yeah, I loved it. I would totally read more about all of these characters. They're all great. I think they were all really well developed, especially considering how many there were, and it still felt like I was fully connected to all of them. And yeah, it was great. Also, Aiden's the absolute best, hands down. Oh, and also, I also think that the military parallel was, I really felt that a lot. There were a lot of times, and I want to stress that I was never in a war situation, ever. And even then, there were still a couple of times where orders would come down that, you know, maybe you don't totally agree with, but you still have to do because you're in the military. And so I love that aspect of kind of internal struggle with that dynamic. Yeah, it was just a great series. Awesome. And then lastly, I have a brand new middle grade series that I am just loving to pieces. Oh my gosh, it's so cute and adorable. It is The Incorrigible Children of Ashton Place. That's the name of the series. And then I've read books 1 and 2. Book 1 is The Mysterious Howling, and book 2 is The Hidden Gallery. And the basic premise is there's this governess, Penelope, who gets hired at a remote mansion in England to be a governess for these 3 children who end up being just like semi-feral. They were found in the woods, and there's this mystery of why the children were in the woods, where did they come from, and there's some mysteries about the house and the lord of the manor, I guess you'd call him, who ended up taking the children in. And it's just a great fun read. It is the ultimate cozy fall mystery book. I'm loving it. It's just ever so slightly spooky, very quirky. Penelope is just great. I love her to pieces. I'm getting very strong like Anne Shirley vibes from her. She has just this very quirky, fun way of viewing the world and how the children should be educated, and it's just great. I'm loving it to pieces. I think it's gonna have 6 books in total. I have the 3rd book out from the library right now, and that's probably gonna be my next big read in October, moving into October. But yeah, there's 6 books out. I'm pretty sure that's the full series. I'm pretty sure it's all complete, which is great. And so hopefully I can just read the series all through the fall, and it's just gonna be a great fun time. Yeah, so that is a wrap up. As I said before, the link will be down in the description area. If there's any that you would like to check out, that would be great.